It's 6 p.m. We'll call this meeting of the Public Works and Highway Committee to order. Roll call shows all committee members are present. I'll entertain approval of the minutes from September 7th.
Move approval.
I'll second.
Any changes or comments on the minutes? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Is there anybody here that would like, is there anybody online? Can you tell? Nobody's online? Is there anybody here for public comment regarding something that is not on the agenda? Because if you're here for an agenda item, you can come up during that item. Nobody here? Moving on to unfinished business. Unfinished business, only one item, opting out for meter installation. This is a follow-up to a discussion we had, I think, about 2 months ago now, correct?
Good evening. So before you tonight, just to follow up, we did go to Mrs. Coakley's home on August 11th, read the meter. From past billing history, which is attached, and that there is a typo on this, it actually stopped reading back in 2015. The meter was not pulled, so we really don't know if the meter is accurately reading usage or not. But after that, I did follow up with the Public Service Commission as to what protocols are needed to set up an opt-out program. This is not a once and done for just Mrs. Coakley, which I was kind of surprised. I wasn't familiar with the whole process, but this would open up an opt-out program for all utility customers. We would be required to open up a tariff changes docket for their review and approval, which below explains what I would have to do. I'd have to get costs on reading a meter with travel time, vehicle charge, and manual entry into the billing system with time and cost for a final total. But again, this is just one we're talking about at this point. So we would also have to acquire a new meter vendor to accommodate if a manual read meter is available. So our current vendor, they do not have manual reads, so I, at this point, would have to go shopping. Our viewpoint from the utilities perspective is this isn't just a once and done. We're going to open up, to me, a Pandora's box for all utility customers. And just a side note, we actually did our first meter read of the entire system with all the automated readers in place, and we got done in about a day and a half. So that was very encouraging. And when I look at all the effort that was put into that lift to get it done, now we're going to want to maybe think of going backwards and allow utility customers, whether it's institutional, commercial, and obviously the residential. I don't think it's a wise decision. But again, it's for discussion for you to direct me what you folks want to do.
Okay, committee? Who would like to start?
Well, I'll just start, and I basically will say I support what Paul's saying here. You can't make an exception here, and you clearly did your homework and got us the information that we needed. So I personally agree with the recommendation is to not recommend an opt-out program. I'm not making that as a motion, but I'm just saying I agree that personally I would not want to see it.
Rick?
Okay, there we go. Yeah, I'm in agreement with that. Do we need a motion for this if we're not going to do an opt-out?
Probably not. I mean, this is open for discussion. I'll
Really
go
not
back.
changing anything.
No, we're not changing anything.
No, we're saying things status quo.
Yeah, as long as it is captured in the minutes, that's the most important thing. Other comments? Then I will add my my agreement to the 2 comments we've already heard. I mean, it's a system that works. We're finally getting all these meters on board where we can do this in an automated fashion. And you're right, this is not the time to go backwards. There is no proof that there's any real problem medically with these things, or we'd certainly know about it. And I think we have to proceed in a normal way and replace that meter. If that's what would be the next steps.
The next step, we would contact Mrs. Coakley. We'd have to gain access, replace the meter, and we're in and out in 10 minutes, as long as all the valve and piping works It would be very simple and fast.
Okay. Okay, and who's going to contact Ms. Coakley about this?
Probably our billing clerk would reach out. That's usually the process. She sets up all our meter installs.
Okay.
So I'll direct her to do that.
Ms. Coakley, do you have any comments? You want to come up to the podium and just let us know any thoughts and, pardon me?
Good evening, I'm Kathy Coakley. I think ultimately, one of these days, you may find that you're going towards the opt-out because that seems to be what communities are doing. Having said that, if you choose not to do that now, Carrie, you did mention that if I had a letter from a doctor, that would change everything, and I do.
I asked you if you could get.
Okay, what did you say? Because I can go back to the minutes.
Go back to the minutes.
Okay, anyway, I do have a letter from a doctor. Okay, would you like me to give it to you?
Give it to them. You want to share what's in the letter with the
Beg
public?
your pardon? Beg your
Want to share
pardon?
what's in the letter with the public who's watching on TV?
Oh, sure. You want me to read it to you, are you
Sure.
saying? Okay. This letter is from Sam Milham. He's a doctor, and I believe he's also a PhD. It says, "My name is Samuel Milham. I'm a physician epidemiologist who is working with diseases caused by electricity. I have over 100 publications and have written a book called Dirty Electricity." Kathy Coakley, birth date 7/12/54, West 166, North 10081. Santa Fe Court, Germantown, Wisconsin, 53022, has called me to let me know that her utility is planning to install a transmitting water meter at her residence. You should do your best to prevent this since it will make her ill or worse. My phone number is 360-866-3569 in Olympia, Washington. Best, Sam Milham.
So this is not your doctor. I meant a medical doctor that you went to,
He is a medical doctor.
that you go to.
I don't have a doctor.
You don't have a doctor.
No.
Okay, enough said. That was my question last time.
Okay, but this is from a doctor, and people actually do these things over the internet nowadays.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any more comments? We don't need to vote. Maybe we should go on record with something here because it's just kind of floating out there. Larry, what would you like us to do? Okay, does anybody want to take a crack at that, which would be replacing the existing meter?
I'll make the motion to not go with an opt-out option at this time.
Second that.
Is it supposed to be in the positive? Motion.
Let me see.
It is.
It-
So then we have to vote it down.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So
Yeah.
I have to, okay. Let me remove that motion and I will move that we recommend an opt-out option. That's what you're saying, right?
If you want it to be that motion, it has to always be a positive and then we vote it down. However, you could make a motion about saying, in this case, that we install a new meter and not look at any other options, which would be cleaner because then it could be in the positive.
So we can do that. Okay. One more time, I'll try this. I recommend that we install the meter at the location in question and not look at any other options at this time.
I'll second. Any more comments? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you.
I lost my agenda. There you go. Oh, I'm getting there. Thanks. Next up, new business, ARPA Fall Tree Planting Project.
Good evening, everybody. Sure everybody here will remember that back earlier this year, the village board awarded 250, or they didn't award, I'm sorry, they set aside $250,000 out of the ARPA funding for some tree planting to get us caught up on our deficiencies. You may also remember that earlier this year, we were updating our GIS system. At the time, we thought we had about 550 vacant planting sites. Since that was done, we've learned that we're actually closer to 957, actually, to be exact, vacant planting sites. But we did take that $250,000 that was allocated toward those sites, and we went out for bid. And we're looking to plant 550 trees this fall. In the process, we did go out to quite a number of qualified landscape contractors, and the results are listed here. One of the benefits, Property Solutions, you may remember, did our spring planting. They were a new contractor for the village. They had a little bit more oversight with Wachtell this spring. Things went very well. They're again the low bidder here, and I think by being the low bidder, that's going to give us the opportunity to take the rest of that money and couple that with our spring tree planting next year and really take a bite out of that remaining, 400 or so trees that are left. So my recommendation would be to contract with Property Solution Contracting in an amount not to exceed $175,650. And that would come from the ARPA street tree account 91-553-530-5290. Happy to answer any questions if you have them.
So that's $319 a tree. The money's pretty, well, can we lock them into that price instead of waiting till next? My concern is it's going to be $400 a tree next year.
Yeah.
So can we lock them into that with that extra $75,000? So we're not going to end up paying more for exactly the same in 6 months.
So I think the right way to do this would be to approve what we've got in front of us so we can get this contract going. We've got a limited amount of time to get these trees planted. But Trustee Hudson, I do think that I certainly am willing to reach out and see if we can lock something in place or potentially see if we can get our spring tree planting bids together earlier, get some pricing on that and see if we can do something to lock in some pricing, Larry.
Okay, the floor. So I just have a question. I wasn't involved with the bid at all. So Scott, did you bid out a number of trees and they came back with 150?
Yes, 550 was the number.
Was you bid out the 550? Okay, thinking you're going to use up all your money.
Yep.
So,
And again, if you look, the very first one that came in was Century Landscape. They've done a lot of work with the village and kind of right on target with where we thought they were going to be. Again, I still think it's great. Property Solutions did a great job. And I think we can get some value for our money and do a little bit more.
so what I'm thinking of is if the committee would award the contract for the amount in what you bid out with an add-on that if the contractor would agree to a change order to increase it to a 200, that they would approve ultimately a max of $250,000 for the award of for the final award of the contract. So you can award this contract because it was bid, it's a formal bid. You can't change this now, but you can change it through a change order after the contract is assigned and awarded. You could do a change order to it if the contractor is willing to do that.
And if he was willing to come back with the same price for the trees.
Right, that's
So
how we
either
would,
way-
that's how we would negotiate it, but
Yeah.
you'd have to give you'd have to give Scott permission to go to a max of 100. So you could say, maybe something you're awarding the contract to this amount for those trees to that contractor, but you also approve expenditures up to the maximum of $250,000 for additional trees.
Scott has a viewpoint on that.
Yeah. One of the reasons too, that we didn't ask for more as I was putting this together is we're going to actually have difficulty finding 500. I mean, it's been difficult for them to find and locate 550 trees for a fall planting.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a lot of trees. In
Really?
comparison, we plant between like 60 and 80 trees in the spring. So that's a sizable planting. We're
Right.
really knocking it out of the park. And they were concerned that they weren't going to find enough stock this time of year. Again, I think certainly the flexibility, and I'm happy to look into it. I mean, that's on my mind. That's my goal, is to see what we can do to get more trees planted. But I don't want to miss out on this contract and not get the.
But you could also do the change order that the change order on for this price for planting in 2023.
Yep.
You can
But
write
he
a
can
change order in
pursue
any
that,
way.
you can pursue a change order without us voting on it tonight. We can vote on tonight that we're paying the $175,000 for the trees. And clean and neat, and you can come back with a change order after you ask them, hey, can we get more trees at that price? Then you just come back to us. I mean, that's clean and neat. I like things in a box, so.
I'm happy to do that if that's what everybody
Are
wants to
we
do.
good with that? And somebody want to make a motion so we can keep
So I'll
rolling?
make a motion to contract with Property Solutions Contracting in the amount not to exceed $175,650 for fall tree planting for approximately 550 trees from account 9155-353-0-5290.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion? I would come back and let us know how that goes, Scott, with these trees and how the planting goes and where the majority are placed. I think it'd be kind of neat to know that, okay?
yeah.
And then you could pursue, see if you can get the same price for something that we can plant in spring. Come back
I
to
will
us.
be back in November with some items. I'll give you an update on where we're
Awesome.
at with this. And then just one more quick addition, and it does say it in the text here, I didn't highlight it. For quite a long while, we haven't been planting trees in subdivisions. There is an element of trees that will be planted in front of private residents this year with this fall planting, just so everybody knows.
And they're the normal caliper and everything that you like, right?
Yes.
That we
Yep.
always do. Okay. We will vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Moving on to Maple Road Industrial Park, no parking sign removal discussion.
There's a map associated with this one that hopefully you guys have easy access to, which will make the discussion just a little bit easier. If anybody's familiar with the Maple Road Industrial Park and drives it regularly, we've got a very large number of failing no parking signs in that industrial park. And we redid, if you look at your map, you'll see in green that we redid the main thoroughfares of Maple River and McCormick several years ago. That signage has been upgraded, new posts, new signs, hardware, et cetera. But because of budget constraints, this is the same budget that pays for our center line and edge line striping, other sign work around the village. We have done nothing with the remainder of the side streets in that industrial park. And, not being able to ignore that any longer, we started to take a look at the cost to replace that signage. And earlier in the year, when we got that number, it was about $6,000, which made me start to really question how much we need it. It's white, it's faded, it's been that way for a while. I'm not thinking that we're writing many parking citations off of that. And so that sparked a conversation between Chief Snow and I. The police department did dive into it a little bit. They reached out to some local businesses and things of that nature. And so we're actually recommending the removal of all the streets in red, to just take those no parking signs down. The streets in yellow are close to the high school. Just a little history there. I think a lot of those signs were put in place because of the high school not having a large enough parking lot at one time. Since that time, they've added on to their parking lot. We really don't seem to have much of an issue out in that area anymore. But we would like to keep the no parking sign in the yellow area that would be east of Maple. And those signs would be upgraded as part of this out of our regular sign maintenance budget. The reason it's before you is it is a regulatory sign. And so its removal would require a resolution, which working with Deanna, that resolution would come along with the board packet if you guys so choose to move this route.
So we really are confident that we're not going to have students parking on the streets.
The lot's empty.
And that's the reason that we're kind of keeping them. I don't think we're going to have that problem, but that's the reason we're keeping them
Yeah.
east of Maple. It's a
Okay.
long distance to
Their
walk.
the daytime parking lot isn't even filled
Yeah.
Okay,
by Germantown High School, but I made, maybe at athletic events that could happen, but school, no.
okay. Go ahead.
So remember, Germantown High School charges their students $200 to park in that lot.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So
That adds a wrench.
you very well may have, yeah. There is a cost factor there.
And I'm reading your concern is if we remove the signage too close, we're going to have people parking out there. And again, I look at it and I say, who's going to be running across Maple Road? Again, I want to make the right decision.
Mhm.
I just want to be cautious before we spend $6,000 on these signs.
Rick, you have a comment?
Yeah, but I mean, based on the map here, if you keep those first three streets closest to the entrance by the high school or the west entrance of the high school, I think you're fine. I'm sure the businesses will actually like it if they can have some parking on the street in front of their facilities.
Do you want to keep that on Morse Drive too? So the students can just cut across through the property and across the athletic field
You're,
to the,
to the north.
to the.
Oh,
north
to the
of this.
north.
That's what I would do when I was that age, but
Yeah.
it's,
Pretty hard to get through there, but yeah. you
We
can-
certainly could add that street back in if
Is
that's.
there access there or is there a fence?
I don't know if there's a fence. There is a large drainage way. There's a very large drainage way that's pretty wooded through there. They'd pretty much have to walk, I think, down to the corner, almost to River Lane to get through.
Get around?
Well, we can try it and keeping those signs up at the closest ones by the west entrance. And we could try it. And that's still saving money if we don't need the additional signs, correct? And if it turns out that things go crazy within the next year, well, no, we put them back up.
That's true. And,
All right.
and to that point, we'd be putting them up anyway if we were replacing them. So taking this chance, I think, and trying this out probably isn't a bad
Okay,
idea.
we have a motion?
Not yet.
I would move to remove all the no parking signage in the Maple Road Industrial Park. Do we want to add Morse? Was that one you said to add?
that's what I would do.
Add Morse to the list. And no parking signage would remain in place in the following streets: Maple, McCormick, River Lane, Freistadt, to Mequon, Edison Drive, Clinton Drive, Carnegie Drive, and Whitney Way east of Maple only. All other no parking signage shall be removed.
Did we get that motion? Yeah, okay. Do you have-
Second,
Perfect. Any discussion?
Yeah, I'm kind of on the fence on Morse. I mean, that's where the daycare is, doggy daycare, Happy Hounds and that. I go past there all the time. There's cars on that road parked
Okay.
all the time.
So,
So, I mean, whether the no parking signs are there, they're parking on Morse.
I can remove it from my motion.
want to remove it from your motion?
I'll remove
Is
it
that
in my
okay with the
second.
second?
sure.
Okay, any more discussion? And then we'll vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Can I just ask real quick for clarification? So it's as written, the recommendation as
Yeah.
written,
Yes.
correct?
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Scott.
And this has to go to village board anyway, right?
Yes.
To do a resolution on it.
Esquire Court, no parking request.
This one is coming, I think, from the homeowners association through trustee Peeper, who's with us this evening. Again, I've provided a map just to help make this just a little bit easier. I think the concern, we've got the Esquire Estates private pool has a sidewalk that comes out to Esquire Court there. And I think some of the concern is that when a car is parked between those driveways, it's difficult for motorists to see, young children or pedestrians coming out. And I think the request is for the no parking. It's actually no parking between driveways, just in that section to allow for a little bit more visibility. So I've actually put two options out here. We have option one, erect a single no parking between driveways sign as indicated on the map. In addition to that, if the committee would so choose, I did use the MUTCD and I do have it outlined on the map. We've got some pedestrian warning signage. Again, I think the no parking sign really does help people that are part of the neighborhood. But if you're a motorist coming into the neighborhood from outside, you're the FedEx guy or whatever, you may not know why you're not seeing a car parked there, and you may not know that there's somebody gonna dart out potentially. So I've got the options laid out that you could use. You could have the no parking between driveways in conjunction with a W11-2, which is a pedestrian warning sign as well. So again, either option is fine.
Committee?
I'll make a motion to erect a single no parking sign in conjunction with the two pedestrian warning signs as indicated on the supplied map.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We'll have discussion. It's pretty well laid out. We'll vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and that, I guess that's all we have on our agenda for tonight. So I guess we will just set our next meeting date. And I think we can go back to Tuesdays if that does work for everyone.
It's election day.
Oh, we don't want to do that. Oh, yeah, it would be. Oh, is November 1st Tuesday, or do we prefer Wednesday? I'm good on either day. Tuesday or Wednesday. So November 1st is good for everybody, 6 PM? Okay, November 1st. Perfect. And with that, we'll close this meeting at 6:25. Thank you, everyone.